Hello and welcome back to day 2 of my favorite crafty things of 2017. This is Jennifer McGuire and I'm thankful you joined me today. Today I'm focusing on my favorite wafer thin dies of 2017. Die cutting is as much a part of the card making process as stamping is for me because there are so many things you can do with dies. Before we get started, I did want to suggest that you stay tuned to the end of this video because I address a few questions that I received after my first video, so I'll answer those there. Okay, so let's get started with word dies. The reason I like word dies so much is that you can kind of create your card and then stick your word die or sentiment right on top of whatever you've created. And you don't really have to save a spot like you do when you used a stamped sentiment. Okay, so one die that I think is really good to have in your die cutting arsenal is a large hello die because this is something that you can use for a variety of occasions and just stamp a small sentiment underneath it. I really like the look of this large Poppy Stamps Big Luxe Hello. It has detail to it and can be used horizontal or vertical on a card. By the way, and throughout this video, that white piece of paper you see to the right is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, which is the size most card makers use, so you can get an idea of the size of these dies. Now a smaller hello die that I like is the Poppy Stamps Little Halo Hello. This has a very intricate hello die cut, and it also has the shadow die. You can actually die cut them together, so you can cut the word out of the shadow if you wanted to. But here is what it looks like when it's stacked. Really like the look of this, especially when you die cut the word hello from cardstock, then the shadow from vellum and add that to a card. That vellum shadow kind of makes the hello stand out even more. And I really like how detailed that hello is. I also make a lot of thanks cards, and I like how unique this Create a Smile Thanks Twice die set is. One cuts a solid script thanks. The other creates kind of like an outline thanks, and you can use them together. You can stack them up, and look how beautiful this looks. Or you can use them separately. Now, keep in mind that the bottom thanks isn't a shadow. It just sits behind it perfectly. So they're the same size. It's just that one of the dies has the opening to the letters, and I love that. Okay, next, a large thanks die set. This is from Honeybee. This one does cut the shadow, and then it cuts the intricate large thanks die cut. Now you can of course use the word thanks by itself, but I really like these die sets that offer the shadow so that if you want to make the sentiment stand out even more, you have that option. For a smaller thanks die, this is the Simon Says Stamp Script Thanks. I've used this one a lot this year. I like the size and the style of the thanks, and that the shadow is cut very close to the word itself. Now I've got a card that I'm going to show you here that I created in a previous video. I can't link to all the videos here on YouTube because it limits me. So if you go to my blog, you can find all the videos that I mention here that I show pictures of projects for. So be sure to head over there to find those. But here you can see how this thanks fits perfectly in the center of a card. Now this is a new one, Pretty Pink Posh Thank You script. Now this is gorgeous. I really like that the U kind of tucks up under the word thanks. It has a lot of detail to it and it's a large size. You can also place the words next to each other for a horizontal card. And you can use the word you by itself and then stamp maybe "Are Awesome" underneath it from a stamp set. This is a card that I have coming soon on a video, so stay tuned for that. And you can see how it fills up a card very nicely. I also think it's good to have a few block letter words in your stash. They work great for masculine cards or more playful cards. This is the My Favorite Things Happy Greetings set, and those words do break apart. Now, my favorite way to put these letters onto my card to make sure they're spaced nicely and straight is to hold the negative space over my card, put adhesive on the back of each letter, and pop them in place. Once it's dry, I can remove the negative space. By the way, these are about 3/4 of an inch tall. Great looking set of words to add to your cards. A hug sentiment is a great one to have in your stash also because it works with a lot of occasions. This Honeybee Hugs set has 3 stacking dies. Now the bottom die cut actually has little piercings around the edge, so it has lots of detail. And you can use the 3 together or just use 2 or 1 alone. And I do have this example here where I use glitter paper for the top layer. There are other words available with this style too. If you're looking for something a little bit smaller, here is the oh so sweet Impression Obsession Hugs die cut. It's tiny and will fit nicely anywhere on a card. Now, I sent a lot of cards to friends, so I was really excited about this Gina K Designs Friend Die. I really like the style of this one, and it works both horizontal and vertical. And you can just do a little stamp sentiment right under the word friend. It kind of tucks in there nicely. It seems that most of the sentiments on my cards are a combination of a word die cut and some stamped words. This Your Next Stamp Fancy Awesome die cut is great to team up with some stamped words. So you could stamp you are right above the word awesome, or have an awesome birthday. There are a lot of sentiments out there that you can team up with this awesome word. I really like the style of this, and there are a few other words available in this style if you like it. And as I always say, we really got to spoil those teachers. I was really excited about this Sugar Pea Teacher Die. It has this cute little teacher die cut and a little apple with a heart cut out of it that you can either use separately or you can stack on that A on the die cut. This has a great style, and you can stamp pretty much any sentiment underneath it if you would like. Now, I did create a card where I added on top of some stitching, and here you can see the little red apple on the white teacher die cut. I also send quite a few Miss You cards, so this Simon Says Stamp Miss You die is definitely on my list. This is another one that kind of stacks together nicely, or you can put the words next to each other. And remember, you can also use the word you by itself. Thinking of You is another sentiment many people use. This is a very detailed, small, intricate die from Papertrey ink that says Thinking of You. The words cut separately, so you can either position them on top of each other or next to each other to add to your card. Here you can see what it looks like stretched across a card. It really fits quite nicely. Sympathy cards are never easy to make, and so this beautiful Paper Smooches with Sympathy die is definitely a favorite of mine. You have the two words that cut separately, and also this beautiful little flourish die cut. And this die set matches or coordinates nicely with the Paper Smooches Sympathy stamp set that I featured in yesterday's video. Hero Arts has the Share Handmade Kindness die. Now this one is very detailed, and this is kind of my little tag saying. I feel it's something that we all do as card makers, is share handmade kindness. And part of the profits from this die go to the Kind campaign to help stop bullying. Same as with this Hero Arts Bit of Kindness die. This was also a stamp that Hero Arts had, and they turned it into a die. And look at the detail in this. I think it fits nicely in the center of a card, and you could even cut the word kindness out if you want to use that alone. Here I covered it with some silver glitter embossing powder, and it just stands out nicely on the card. Okay, so next we have the Memory Box Days Blessings. I have a few cards in the works right now using this one, where I did a fun inked background, and then I just die cut this from white cardstock and added in the middle. You can see it fills the whole card, and you could even cut out the word blessings and use it alone. Such a beautiful sentiment. Now, if you're looking for a set of dies that cuts a bunch of words, this is the Bee Hooray die set. This cuts the words day, celebrate, birthday, and congratulations. Very small, detailed sentiments. But there's also the shadow that you can mount it on if you want to. Here's the word birthday so you can get an idea of what it looks like. And here I used the celebrate die cut from black cardstock and added it to the vellum shadow. Okay, next we have the W+9 Basic Greetings. In this die set, there is thanks, friends, smile, and hello. For some reason, my smile die cut ran away, but you can get an idea of the size of these. It's a very unique looking font that has a little bit of boldness to it, so it really stands out on a card nicely. You can also use the thanks friend and hello friend together if you wanted to. Okay, this brings us to background dies. Now I know background dies have a higher price point since it's such a large piece of metal, but I've done many videos showing how to stretch your background dies to get more uses out of them. So I am going to share a few that I think are really worth the investment if you're looking to do so. First is layering dies. Layering dies are gorgeous. There are 3 large dies that usually come together, and when you die cut each and you layer them on top of each other, you get a gorgeous layered look. So you could basically do this either with all the same colors of cardstock like I did here, or you can do an ombre look or change up the colors. But check out the detail you get when you use layering dies. This is the Avalon's frame die set. Yes, there is a higher price point to these, but I do have a video showing several different ways to use layering dies like this one. And look at the gorgeous layering of flowers that you get. And remember, you can use the dies separately, and you can use the little flowers and leaves that these dies cut out. Now, last year I shared several other layering die sets in my favorite things, and I know many of you like them too. So I have a few to share with you today, and I think this Avalon one was my favorite. Here we have another Birch Press layering die set. This one, each die can be used separately for a beautiful look, or you can use them together. Here we have the first plate where you can get just a solid look from the die cutting. And I also think you can put like a circle die cut or a little square up there, and it looks like a focal point, and that way you cover up the flower and get a different look. Now here is another one of the layering, and this one actually has some faux stitching detail around the shapes. So you get another look from that one. And you can layer it with just the first one, and you can see the beautiful look that you get. Now this does cover up the faux stitching, but you get that gorgeous layer look because they're sized perfectly. Now here is the third one. This one has a lot of faux stitching on it, lots of details here. And you can use different combos to get different looks. Here I put the solid one on top, and you can see a little bit of the faux stitching peeking out. Or you can use the two faux stitched ones together like you see here, and you get lots of dimension, or here all three together, and look how gorgeous that is. I personally like when all three layers are cut from the same color of cardstock, but I've seen some colorful cards where people use different colors or do an ombre look. I'm currently making a set of cards where each background is a different color of these layering dies, and then I just put a word sentiment in the center. Now one more set of layering dies from Birch Press creates a beautiful heart background. I've used this one in a video before. I like how each one is a great standalone background die cut. And look at all those little hearts that it cuts out. I keep all of those little hearts, all the different size hearts, in a little jar next to my desk. So whenever I need little heart accents on a card, I have them ready to go. So here I've cut all three layers from like a dark peach cardstock. And check it out, when you start to layer these, you end up with a beautiful layered look. And I will say these particular background dies are beautiful when you use one with an embossing mat to make an impression on your paper. It's just gorgeous. And here's a card that I created with like an ombre look with 3 different colors of red cardstock. Next we have the Neat and Tangled Scalloped Cover Die. This is likely my favorite cover die of the year. I like the style of it. I like that it can be used with a variety of different style of cards. It's slightly smaller than a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch note card, so it fits on there nicely. I like that the openings are large enough so that if you do some beautiful coloring on cardstock, you can put this on top and it'll show through, as it did with these cards here. Altenew also has layering dies, but you can also buy the dies separately if you want to. I really like the Altenew layered plaid die set, but in particular I like the plaid B die. I think it's beautiful on its own, but you can of course get both the A and the B plates and use them together for a layered plaid background. But if you're going to get one, I would go with the plaid B, and you can use that for a tone-on-tone background. I also have found that this plaid background is great for masculine cards. Okay, next we have the My Favorite Things Diagonal Sentiment Strip Cover Die. This ends up being slightly smaller than 4 1/4 by 5.5, and you have this large diagonal element where you can put your sentiment. A word die cut or a stamp die cut looks nice there, and you can just tuck a little stamped image like a flower right above it. You can use it so that that large diagonal element is on the bottom or the top of the card. Now, recently I made some gift card cards, and I used these stripes as a pocket to hold the gift card. So there are many ways you can use this one. Reverse Confetti has this great vertical stripes background die. This is another one that can be used on a lot of cards, and it cuts it to be 4 1/4 by 5.5. So it covers the front of a note card. And of course you can position this horizontal or vertical. I keep all of the little strips that this cuts out, and I use them for stamping little sentiment strips. Sometimes I can't cut mine straight. This way I can be guaranteed they're straight and the perfect size for sentiments. The Tim Holtz paper cut bird is such a gorgeous background die. It actually cuts a little bit bigger than a 4 1/4 by 5.5, so you can position it how you want and trim it down a bit. Look at the beautiful detail that you get with this. I think this would be beautiful for a colorful set of note cards where each card is a different color. And you can also cut out portions of it to kind of get a little border for your card of some sort of little floral element. I also like dies that don't really cut a pattern, but instead create faux stitched details. This is from Lawn Fawn, and it creates a stitched wood grain background, and it covers the front of a note card. And check out that faux stitching detail. This is great for adding just a touch of interest on the background of a card. As is the Lil Inker So Knotty die. This is a beautiful faux stitching detail. This does not cut the outside edge, so it just creates those faux stitching. There's no cutting with this. So if you have a note card, you can cut this on the front of the card and add the details just there. Okay, next I just wanted to share with you some must-have dies. These are dies that I feel are very good to have in your stash for everyday card making. Now, the first few die sets are ones that I reach for almost every time I make a card. Here we have the Hero Arts Rectangle Infinity die set. I like the Hero Arts Infinity die sets because they are a great price point and lots of dies are included. For this rectangle set, there are 16 dies. The biggest one is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and the smallest one is a 1/2 inch by 1 3/4. I use this guy a lot. He stays out on my desk, as does the Hero Arts Circle Infinity die set. I for sure use this die set more than any other this year. There are 18 circle dies in this set. The largest is 4 1/2 inches wide, and the smallest is the size of a hole punch. I also personally use a lot of heart die cuts on my cards, so I like the Hero Arts Hearts Infinity die set. There are 10 dies in this set, and all the hearts are beautiful shape. The largest one is about 4 1/2 by 4 inches, and you can see the tiny one that it goes down to in the center. I have a boatload of cards over on my blog showing how to use these, and I often like to use these dies together, just tape them together, and use them to make an impression in my paper with an embossing mat. I also like to use faux stitching dies because it gives a little bit of detail for a simple card. Here I have the My Favorite Things faux stitch rectangle dies. There are 2 sets. There's a set 1 and a set 2. Both are great. They're a little bit different size, but I prefer set 2 because the largest die is 4 by 5 1/4, which is slightly smaller than the front of my note card. I also like faux piercing, where the dies create little dots around the cutting edge. This is the Avery Elle double pierced rectangle set. This actually puts piercing on both sides of the cutting line. So you can either use the rectangle in the center or the negative space of it as a frame. And I know some people don't like the look of stitching, so maybe this piercing would be good for you. Now for squares, I like to use the Lawn Fawn outside in stitched square set. This also comes in circles and rectangles. This does the faux stitching on both sides of the cut line, so you have it on your little square and the negative space, so you can create a window for the front of your card. Poppy Stamps has circle, square, and rectangle frame dies that have the pointed dots in the center. I like the circle because I can easily create like a frame for a shaker card or for a window card. And the pierced dots are spaced a little bit farther apart, so you could stitch through them if you wanted to, and I've got a video coming soon with that. I also like the Memory Box Pinpoint single frame. Now if you look closely, this is piercing on the inside of the cut line and the outside. And the outside has that finishing corner look where it kind of sticks out a little bit. I use this die to create this flamingo card where I put tiny little dots of white Nuvo drops along each dot. Here we have the Birch Press Hearts Aglow. I like to scatter little hearts on my card. I don't know why, it's just my thing. And this Birch Press Hearts Aglow die cuts a bunch of hearts in a bunch of different sizes. So I always have this one close to my desk so I can quickly cut anything I need. Okay, we're in the home stretch. The last category of dies is just other fun dies that I've seen this year that I thought you might like too. Okay, first I recommend investing in a few alphabet dies because they can be used on so many different cards. Here we have the Altenew Bold Alphabet die set. I like this one because it's big. So these letters are big enough that I can stamp on them. I can decorate them however I want. And I've done a lot of videos using this one. Here you can see how a simple sentiment can fill up a card and I can still stamp on it. And then I can also stamp a little greeting with it. Now for script, I'm really digging the Echo Park Script Alphabet die set. Now this is actually one die. The price point is great, so you can cut a bunch of letters very quickly. Here I have the Hugs die cut, and you can see that it fits nicely in the center of a card. You can even personalize a card by die cutting the letters of their name. Now, I talked about layering background dies. If you're looking for something with a little lower price point, here are the layering hearts from Birch Press. So here you can see how the 3 die cuts layer together for a beautiful look, or you can use them separately. Earlier, I showed you a few Hero Arts Infinity Nesting die sets. They have a bunch of different shapes available, and one of the other shape sets that I like is the 12-point Star Infinity die set. I just think these are really playful. My son uses these all the time for school projects. And here you can see where I used a few of the stars together to make an impression in the background of a card. Such a fun and playful, unique look. Now, I went crazy this year with the Paper Smooches cross-stitch die. In fact, I bought another one because if I lose my first one, I might lose my mind. So I created a video showing lots of card examples, which you got to check out if you like cross-stitch. This die creates all the tiny holes, and if you aren't into stitching, you can always use the die by itself as a fun background. I also like dies that kind of create a focal point on your card. This Your Next Stamp rectangle stick frame is great for adding a sentiment in the inside or have even a little die cut critter kind of peeking out from it. Now Concord and Ninth is really good about packing their die sets full of lots of different things. This is the Many Thanks die set. It's a small set, but look at everything it cuts. It cuts 3 different size word bubbles and the outline, and it cuts the word thanks in a large size, a small size, and even an XOXO. Now I use this thanks quite often. Again, I put down the negative space first, add the letters to the inside with adhesive, and then take the negative space away. And that way I can be sure that the spacing is just right. And how can you not fall head over heels for these big puffy clouds? These are from Poppy Stamps. It's the Stitched Cloudline die set. And they have 3 different borders that create these fluffy, fluffy clouds with faux stitching on the edge. Great for creating a layered background, or you can even use them to kind of ink over for a masking effect. Now these Lawn Fawn stitched trail dies are nice and long. There's several dies in the set. I've actually left mine connected because I use them a lot just to create like a little fun background. It doesn't cut, it just creates the faux stitching. I like the hearts in it, and you can separate them so you can use one of the dies alone. It's great for kind of a sky background or to add with birds or butterflies. Now, if you're a fan of interactive cards, you definitely need to check out the Waffle Flower Pull Tab die set. You can see there's all these different dies to create different types of interactive pull tabs on your card. So if you look at this card on the right, when you pull the tab, the little mouse moves over. These are so much fun to make. I will link to this video below because you need to see this one in action. Okay, Pink and Main has 3 new bow die sets. There's the large bow, the medium bow, and the small bow. I'm going to quickly assemble the large bow here so you can see how it works. And all the different sets have the same looking bow with the faux stitching, just 3 different sizes. I like the large size and I plan to use it on a few gifts for Christmas. I just put the 2 ends together in the middle, wrap this piece around it, and then there are 2 ribbon ends you can put with it. Either this one where the ribbon ends come out the side, or the other one where the ribbon ends kind of fall down from the bottom of the bow. This is a beautiful die because it has that faux stitching to it. And again, there are 3 different sizes, but I personally like this one, which is the large size. Got a video showing that very soon. Now my favorite little favor bag of the year is from Mama Elephant. This creates a cute little favor bag that is 5 1/8 inches tall, 3 1/4 inches wide, and 1 1/2 inches deep. So you can put little gifts in here, and I've used it many times for teacher gifts. Love to put little gift cards in it. And there are little die elements that you can add to decorate it. Also check it out because Mama Elephant has some fun little shapes you can add to the favor bag, like a little snowman or a little bunny to make them even cuter. Now I think the most innovative die set of the year is the Lawn Fawn Scalloped Box Card Pop-Up. I actually have used this to create a video and I haven't shared it yet. I just haven't edited it yet. And then I couldn't find the die set, so I had to buy it again to show you here today. But it creates these little pop-up cards that you see here to the right. My friend Kelly Marie, who owns Lawn Fawn, she created these little guys here. She told me I could share them. I'll provide a link to them below so you can see how this comes together. But basically it flattens and fits in a regular envelope, but then it pops up and all these little critters can be inside. So much fun to make and definitely worth checking out. And stay tuned for a video on that soon. Last but not least, I have the Papertrey Ink Bulk Mail Envelope die. You can see the die there on the left. Basically, you cut 2 of those and then you score along the score lines. There are a few ways to do this, but I find using a scoreboard is the easiest. Now, there is a video where they show you on Papertrey how to put this together, so you can check that one out too. I just put it together very quickly here to show you today. After cutting the 2 pieces and scoring along both, I go ahead and enforce those score lines by folding them and running my bone folder along it. On one of the pieces, I'll cut those tiny little tabs off that stick out from the sides. Now, when I've created these in the past to give to people, I actually use 1/8 of an inch of strong double-sided tape. Today, I'm just going to quickly use my tape runner just to save time. But you want to use strong tape to tape the flap down on one of the pieces, then add strong adhesive along the little flaps of that same piece. And then you just put the 2 together. They kind of fit together like a box lid onto a box. And then just kind of press all the sides together. Then the 1/2 still has the flap that you can kind of tuck in to close it. Or you can use a little sticker to hold it shut, which is what I usually do. And now you have an envelope that has a little bit of dimension to it. So you can put your dimensional cards in it. Make sure you use strong adhesive and make sure all those edges are stuck nicely. And here you can see I have a card that I just put a video up for, and you can see the sizing. It's slightly bigger than a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch card, so it fits in there quite nicely. And this is about 1/4 of an inch thick. So there we have my favorite dies of 2017. Before we go, as I mentioned, I have a few questions that I wanted to address just to kind of help everyone out. First of all, some people asked where to find the products that I use. I can't list them all in the YouTube description below because you're limited how much you can share there. So go to my blog for more information and to find links to everything. Over on my blog, I also have those great discount codes to a few of my favorite online stores. Another question that I received is about companies that aren't included on my favorites list. I'll be honest, I really worked hard to try to include as many companies as possible. And I'm sure I missed some, and I really am sorry for that. I do focus on mostly the companies who provide their products wholesale, so that if you have a local store, that you can find them there. And also, so you can find them at some of the bigger online crafting sites like Simon Says Stamp and Elle and Hudson. That's where I do my own shopping, so sometimes if things aren't there, I kind of miss them. Or there's a few new companies that I've been trying out lately, and I'm just not ready to recommend them yet because I really want to make sure they're good products. Okay, so there you have it. Most of the supplies are linked below in my YouTube description, but go to my blog for more sources, and I have discount codes and giveaways. In the middle are a couple other videos you might like. Once again, I appreciate you spending time with me, and we'll see you again soon for another My Favorite Crafty Things video.